a service of CNC Worldwide.
The Daily is a service of CNC Worldwide and Jib Jab. Greetings, I'm Bud Lowell, your full AccuWeather forecast right on top here on your CNC local news page. The Brighton Police Department has filed reckless driving and other charges against 16-year-old John Zachary, the teenage driver who smashed his car into the rear of a school bus on Warren Avenue last week. That crash in Brighton sent Zachary and his 3 passengers to Strong Memorial Hospital. One, 16-year-old Scott Collins, is still there in intensive care. 4 elementary school children and their driver on the school bus weren't injured, but the car was crushed and wedged under the bus by the impact. Brighton police say Zachary was speeding, failed to keep right, and ran a stop sign before the crash. He also had too many passengers in his car. The teen holds a junior license, and by state law that means he can only have one other person under the age of 21 in his car unless they're members of his immediate family. Zachary was driving 2 other 16-year-olds and a 14-year-old home from Brighton High School when he rear-ended the bus. Zachary is set to appear in Brighton Town Court on the 29th. Brighton's police chief says the case has been turned over to the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, and Chief Mark Henderson says his department is working with the Brighton Central School District on ways to monitor teens for safe driving. There are still a few rough edges, but the innovative diverging Diamond Freeway interchange in Brighton is essentially complete and ready for its ribbon cutting. Most highway projects don't rate a visit from the New York State Department of Transportation's commissioner and representatives of the Federal Highway Administration, but officials are very happy with this one. The interchange between Winton Road and the 590 Expressway, it's the first of its kind for New York State. So Commissioner Joan McDonald, federal and state officials, town and community representatives all gathered by the roadside Tuesday morning to hold the ceremony declaring the roadway open for business. The DOT and the town of Brighton wanted to cut backups on Winton Road caused by people trying to turn left onto the expressway ramps. But they didn't want the massive cost of a traditional cloverleaf interchange and all the disruption it would cause to surrounding residents and properties. So the diverging Diamond briefly switches traffic to drive on the left side of Winton Road for 1 block, and then vehicles can pull directly onto the expressway ramps without having to wait at a light to turn left and block the oncoming traffic. Then they switch back to normal right-hand driving once they're beyond the 590 overpass. The project was done over the summer and for just over $5 million, and that is pretty close to cheap for a big highway project. This may not sound like much, but take heed, it could have big implications down the road. If local government now costs taxpayers too much, the state of New York says it will put its money on the line to help local governments trim down through consolidation and reorganization. Some of the $4 million in grants announced by Governor Andrew Cuomo will go to the Rochester area, particularly to encourage consolidation of some fire districts in Monroe and Orleans counties. In all, the state hopes the money will encourage more than 20 municipal government bodies and school districts to merge with their neighbors or find other ways to consolidate local government costs and thereby reduce the pressure to keep on raising local property taxes. The governor says he wants to see local or government efficiency projects, shared or cooperative services, and regionalized delivery of services like water, sewer, and police protection. More than $330,000 will go to support merging or consolidating the services of the Hamlin, Morton, and Walker fire districts in northwest Monroe and eastern Orleans County. 6 school districts around the state will begin consolidation talks, including Romulus and South Seneca in the Finger Lakes. The BOCES in Orleans, Erie, and Niagara counties will begin a major service consolidation. It should cut costs for more than 100 western New York school districts. Villages including Scottsville are looking at consolidating their sewer facilities with their counties. Elsewhere around the state, the town and village of Chester are looking at consolidating their police departments. The same is being explored in Watkins Glen and in the village of Dryden near Syracuse. The Environmental Protection Agency says it's finally extinguished a fire at a recycling plant in the village of Attica that was making life miserable for village residents. A mountain of plastic and glass containers waiting to be ground up and recycled into reflective glass beads for highway stripes and into sandblasting compounds caught fire back during the summer. Now, this fire apparently started spontaneously from heat generated by decaying food and soft drink remnants inside the unwashed containers, and residents had been complaining about the smell for weeks. It smoldered deep inside the piles, releasing steam, smoke, and fumes that sickened some of the nearby residents. Finally, the EPA stepped in on September 29th and took over the firefighting. They declared it out Sunday, although some warm spots were still emitting steam on Monday. Work crews brought in by the federal agency are bulldozing the plastic and glass into smaller piles to avoid more spontaneous combustion. A fire management plan is being put in place, and temperature monitoring gear is being installed to make sure hot spots don't develop and start the whole thing up again. EPA Regional Administrator Judith Enck said crews had to dig out nearly 49,000 cubic yards of material and cool it off when necessary. The State Department of Environmental Conservation says air monitoring now shows no detectable levels of volatile organic compounds in the air. The glass melting furnaces at Hillcrest Industries were shut down by the state several weeks ago because of faulty emissions equipment and other shortcomings. The DEC says one furnace has been overhauled and is now fit to operate again. Meanwhile, nearly 150 Attica residents are suing Hillcrest Industries. They have hired attorney Richard Lippis. He's known for his handling of cases during the Love Canal disaster in Niagara Falls. And Greece police have charged 3 people in connection with a string of burglaries in the Dewey Avenue-Denice Road area on the east side of the town. One suspect is a juvenile and will be dealt with in family court. Police identified the 2 adults as 38-year-old Chad Lane and 34-year-old Mandy Balcom. Each has been charged with criminal possession of stolen property and will appear in court later this month. To the left of this player window are links to these and other stories on CNC News pages. To the bottom of the page, in that gray bar, links for you to use. Just post us items you've heard about, stories and comments you've written. We're also a community news resource at CNC. We want to know about birth announcements, wedding announcements, business openings, all that sort of thing, because if it interests you, then we're interested in it as well. So next news is as it happens, updates when necessary. I'm Bud Lowell, CNC News.